female, the imam is going to stand at the waist. Now, where does the imam stand?
Here.
That's wrong. Because men, women, children, closest to the imam. So you should be standing here. Yeah? So now the people is that way. Right? So men are closest to the imam, then women, and then children. The question that is asked to the Shaykh is more than one deceased. Who is placed closest to the imam? The Shaykh says men, then women, then children, and even with the children, boys before girls. Now, when it comes to men and women in each category, the Shaykh says the most pious and the most knowledgeable is placed before the others. And the evidence for that is that Uhud, when they had to dig bigger graves, they put the people who knew most Quran before those people who knew less Quran. Question number 9, where does the Imam stand? But we've already got a demonstration of that. This is where he stands. So now before he starts the Salah, question number 10. What's the ruling on informing the congregation of the gender of the deceased? And you find this in the Haram. Salatul Mayyit, Salatul Atfal, the caller will call out and say there's going to be a Salatul Janazah over the Mayyit. That means adults. But sometimes he will say Salatul Atfal, Alhamdulillah. It's just children now. So the Shaykh has asked this question. Is it permissible? Is this something that we should be doing? The Shaykh says there's no problem in this. And the reason why is because the people, the Imam, the people praying upon the deceased, would then know how to make dua. If it's children, there's a specific dua for that. If it's a male, then they change the pronouns accordingly. Question number 11. How do you arrange the deceased if there's no space? There's no space, yeah. But what you do is, as the Shaykh says, you do the best that you can do, according to the arrangement that you have here. Question number 12. Does a bigger congregation benefit the deceased? Now this is actually very important, because when you go to pray Salatul Janazah, a lot of people are lined up as they were doing in Salah, and this is good. But the Fuqaha have mentioned that having more rows is better than having longer rows. Does that make sense? So say you've got 100 people, and you can make 5 rows, 20 people in each row. Would it be better to have 5 rows or 10 rows of 10? They have said 10 rows of 10 is better. Obviously, if you end up with an odd number, it's better, so 9 rows or 11 rows or something like that. But this is what is better. So the Shaykh is saying here, that's one thing, that you have a larger number of rows. But the Shaykh is also answering this question where the person is asking about having a larger congregation. He brings us 2 hadith. The first one, ما من رجل مسلم يموت, there is no Muslim that passes away, فيقوم على جنازته 40 رجلا, and 40 people stand over this person, لا يشركون بالله شيئا, on the condition that they have tawheed, and they don't make shirk with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the slightest, which is very important, because what's sad now is people, they worship the deceased. They pray over them, and then they worship them. Understand? Where is the logic in that? The Prophet is saying here, لا يشركون بالله شيئا إلا شفعه الله فيه. Except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept their intercession, and whatever they pray for this deceased, in the Salatul Janazah, Allah will grant it for them. That's one hadith. But the point where we are saying here, having a larger congregation, how larger number of rows, or more rows, is better, is found in another hadith where the Prophet said, مَا مِن مَيْءٍ يُصَلِّي عَلَيْهِ أُمَّةٌ مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ يَبْلُغُونَ مِئَةً. There's no group of people gathered to pray upon the deceased, and they've reached 100 people. كُلُّهُمْ يَشْفَعُونَ لَهُ إِلَّا شَفَعُوا فِيهِ. All of them making dua, اللهم اغفر له, اللهم ارحمه, اللهم اغفر له, اللهم اغفر له, now making dua, forgive him, mercy on him, protect him from the punishment of the grave, etc. He said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept the intercession. Right, so now you understand. Question number 15. What's the ruling on the Fatiha for the Imam? We did this question last week as well. Is it a must? Is that a must? Are you sure? If you don't do the Fatiha, then what?
It's not cut because every salah has to begin with Fatiha.
Every single salah, the pillar is, or the Fatiha is a pillar. The Hanafis say you don't do the Fatiha at all. And this is again, we talked about this last week. This is important because most of the time be praying behind a person who's following anything else. With all due respect, like we said, we talked about this last week, and they might not do it, so you have to do it very quickly. Can a person recite a surah after the Fatiha? Question number 13. The Shaykh is saying there's no harm in it. However, the salah is supposed to be short. Therefore, the fuqaha mentioned you're not even supposed to do the istiftah, subhanallah wa bihamdih. Allahu Akbar, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، الحمد لله رب العالمين، غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين, to the end. That's it. So you shouldn't have anything added to it. But the Shaykh is saying if the person did do that, there's no harm. Question number 14, what's the dua for the children? For children who have passed away, the Shaykh gives us that. Again, you'll find that in Hisn Muslim. But the Shaykh gives us the hadith, لو له ذخرة من والديه وفاته وشفيعا مجابا اللهم ثقل به موازينهما وعلم به أجورهما وأذكر الصالح السلف المؤمنين وجعله في كفالة إبراهيم وقف برحمتك عذاب الجحيم. You will find this in Hisn Muslim. But the Shaykh is saying here the matter is broad. If you look at this dua, it's actually very nice. Oh Allah, make them, the children are passed away, make them as a treasure which is stored for the parents. Make them an interceder for the parents. Oh Allah, make the children and the parents of the children, should we say, have heavy scales on the day of judgment. Oh Allah, allow them to join the Salaf al-Mu'mineen, in the believers that have already passed away. And make these children that have passed away now under the guardianship of Ibrahim. The Prophet on Mi'raj, he saw Ibrahim in the 7th Jannah, and he saw him with his back leaning to the Bayt al-Ma'mur, and he had children of the Mushrikeen with him. This dua where he was saying, oh Allah, give them that peace and that security and that good companionship with Ibrahim alayhi salam. Question number 60. So now he's led the salah. So lead the salah. Come. Abdullah son, do takbir. Allahu Akbar. What are you doing? Fatiha. You done Fatiha? Say Allahu Akbar. Abdullah Akbar. Abdullah has now joined. Say Allahu Akbar quickly. Now he's doing Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Abdullah just joined. What does he do? What does he do? Are you going to join or are you going to walk off? Join. Say Allahu Akbar. Good. We've got 2 Abdullahs now. So do Allahu Akbar Abdullah. Now what are you going to recite? You're on your first takbir. So you're doing Fatiha, he's doing Durood. Allahu Akbar. See? So now what are you doing, Salih? Dua. You do Allahu Akbar with him, obviously, because you're following the Imam. What are you doing? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Allahu Akbar. Salih. You do Allahu Akbar with him. What are you doing now? Dua. What are you doing now? Taslim, do it then. Now there's people here. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. What do you do now, Abdullah? Allahu Akbar and then Taslim. So everybody get that, yeah? If the Shaykh is asked, if a person misses a takbirah, what does he do? He enters the salah with the Imam, and for him it's not going to be different. Just like Dhuhr, if you came late, it's your first rak'ah, it's the Imam's third rak'ah, 4 rak'ah. And then he makes up what has been missed. This is due to generosity where the Prophet ﷺ said, مَا أَدْرَكْتُمْ فَصَلُّوا وَأَنْ يُقَامْ. Whatever you find the Imam is doing, pray with him. And when he finishes, complete it. This is on the condition, the Shaykh says, that he thinks that the deceased haven't been lifted. And this is what happens in the Haram, straight away they're lifted. If you're 3 takbirat behind the Imam, then the Shaykh says just make taslim. And this is what the Hanabila said, because you're not praying over anyone now. Right. When is it prohibited to pray Salatul Janazah? The Shaykh says that there are 3 times when it is not permissible. And the question is asking after Salatul Fajr, after Salatul Asr. These are times when you shouldn't be praying, but in the Haram we find it. So what's the ruling on that? The Shaykh said that there are 3 times when it's forbidden to pray Salatul Janazah. Number 1, when the sun is rising. At the time when the sun is rising. We're not saying after Fajr. We're talking about the time of Shuruq itself. I believe it's what, 6 o'clock? Something like that. So you can't pray Salatul Janazah. You're now ready, you're in the graveyard, the shrouding, everything is completed. the grave has been dug, you're just waiting to pray. 5:50 you can't, 5:55 you can't, 6 o'clock you can't. When can you pray now? 6:15, 6:20, if we're saying that at 6 o'clock, right? Sunset, same ruling. So 5-10 minutes before Maghrib, as soon as the sun has set, now you can pray the Salat Janazah. But obviously now here in this scenario, what you would do is you do the wajib, the Fard al-Ain, before the Fard al-Kifaya. So imagine that the sun is now eclipsing. But it's time for Asr. It's time for Maghrib. What do you do first? You do the Fard prayer, the Fard al-Ain, and then if there's time left over, then you do the eclipse prayer. And this is the same thing here. And then the third time when it's not permissible, so sunrise, sunset, and at the Zawal. So the Dhuhr begins at 3:05. So between 12:55 and 3:05, 12:55 and 1:05, I looked at the 30. 1:05, there is no Salat al-Janazah. I think we'll stop here. This is question number 17. Inshallah, next week we'll continue from question number 18. But like I said, the classes take place on a Friday, not on a Saturday. But shall we just leave it on Saturday? Should we just do it every Saturday?
Yeah, because everybody's here.
Should we just do that? Is that alright?
Perfect.
Saturday.